Now I will explain the layer and the class system. So if you work in 2D, the layers, they're like drawing paper. So you have one layer here, and then you have another layer here, and then they're transparent, so you see through them. And then if you import a cadastre plan, you put it at the bottom, and then you can see through everything. And then the class, they're like pens. So you have the red pen and the black pen. So it's very like if you would draw by hand. So for example, if we create a new class, and you can do it by doing a right click and new. And there is many ways to draw. You can call your class wall, you can call your class sections, and this, I like to do it like if I had a pen. So I will call this class 013, which is like the thickness, and I will put the pen prefix and then say okay. And then you can edit it, so you double click and bearbeiten, and then you have these options. So it's good to click this automatic Zuweisen option, so when you select it, it will reset everything. Then it's a pen, so we don't want Füllung, so I will select empty. And then for the, we don't want a full attribute, but we want a Stift attribute. So I go solid, and then black is good. And then for the thickness, I selected 013, so I will select the correct thickness here. And then the rest I will not touch, and it's good, it's done. So I will create a second pen for pen, and I don't remember, I think there is a 30, so we'll call it 030. And yeah, 35. Like this. And this is already good. You can already start to draw sections and things, and then things in view and things in sections with 2 pens. And then maybe I will add another pen, which I will call, maybe I need a wall, actually. I need like a black wall, so I will just call it wall, very simple. And then this one, I will give it, I will leave the default thickness, but I will give it a black full. And by default, when you use the color palette, it only shows the colors which are currently in use in the document. So what you want to do is activate the VectorWorks standard color, and this gives you a better color palette. So now I'll just select black and then say okay. So now if I select my pen and then I select the line tool, which is this guy here, then I can just draw black line, super easy. And then if I switch to the 35, I draw a black line, and you can already see the difference, it's thicker. So with this, you can already start to draw. Now I will show you the levels. So the levels are my, my layouts. So I will create a new one, and I will just call it 00 because it's my ground floor. And then I will create one which is called 01, which is my upper floor. And then I will call this one section A, actually, because maybe we have more than one section. There we go. And
what do you mean with section?
So it would be the layer on which I would draw my section. Section is Schnitte, and then I can make another one which I will call facade north. So I have, for example, a facade. To draw a wall, so I go on to 00, I select my pen, which is the wall pen. And for the wall, I will use it with a rectangle. So I start to draw, and you can see that the dimensions are in meters. So I like to work in centimeters. If you like to work in meters, this is fine already, but you can change the dimension you're working with by going to here, Dokumenteinstellung, Einheit. And then here you can say, I want to work in centimeters, please show the unit. And then you come back here, and then it shows in centimeters. So I want to make a 3 meter long wall by 18 centimeters thick. So you click, and then you press tab, and you enter your dimensions. So now you see my wall is white with a black line. And when we created the wall class, we set it up with a black infill. So why is it not showing it here? It's because any object you draw on a class can take the attribute of the class, or you can set whatever attributes you want. So if I come here in this little panel here, I can say, oh no, I want this wall to be green, and it will turn green. In this case, and it's a really good way to work, is to never change these settings. It's to always use the class settings. So to use the class settings, you have to come here. You have to go on the class, select all your elements you want to change, and then click on this little triangle and say Klassenstille zuweisen. And then it's gonna put this little arrow, curved arrow on all the elements, and that's gonna say, I'm using the class settings. So if I come in the wall and I edit it and I change the color of the wall, and then now it's gonna change this. So if you have draw everything with black and you print it and it's too dark, you come here and you change that really quickly. But if you say, for example, do this, and you have this wall here and you select it and you say, you know, I like the blue better, and then you come here and you change the color, it's not going to change the blue wall color because it has been set manually here. So you have to come and say, no, go back to the default. So double click on another class, and then I'm going to make, so I'm not going to draw a real drawing. I'm just going to show you like this for now, but you get the idea. I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to say, yeah, so some of these thinner lines. And then you start to do your drawing, and then it's really slow to go back and click back and forth here. So to switch between class, you go on the mouse and you press Command and Alt together and click. So now it's not showing on the screen, but you press Command and Alt, your mouse changes into this little cursor, and then it takes the object you clicked on. So it's like it's like ArchiCAD. So with this, once you have some elements on your drawing, you can very quickly switch between them and have them the correct, like quickly select the wall, for example, and say I want this. So I go there, and then boom, blah, blah. There we go, I have my wall. So 2D drawings. It's easy to draw the walls, and then you draw one wall, and then, for example, you want to make a room, or a perimetral wall. So I'm going to duplicate this wall, and the easiest way to duplicate is to use the Move tool. It's this guy here. And then you click on your initial wall, and then you click where you want to move it. You press Alt, and that's going to duplicate it. And then you can rotate it with the rotate tool, which is D, I think. Yep. Rotate it like this, and then I use the Move tool again. I click on the corner, move it here. Then I'm going to do a symmetry. So the S tool, click in the middle, symmetry here, click here, symmetry down there, and then I have my box. And then let's say I want to make another wall inside. So I'll just take this wall again, and then I'm gonna duplicate it here with the Alt key pressed, and then I'm gonna move it 1 meter away from this other wall. So what I do is I click on the wall, I start moving, and then I press Tab, and then you can enter a distance. So if I enter 50 now, it's gonna move the wall 50 this direction. And then I want to make this wall thinner because it's internal wall. It's not, well, it's already 18, it's quite thin, but let's say I want to make this thinner. So I select the wall, and then here I can change the thickness. So I can say, oh, it's a very thin wall of 5 centimeters. And then if you want to, you have the alignment here. So if you want it to move the other way, when you change the thickness, you go like this and it moves the other way. So it's quite logical. And let's say now I want to make a window in this wall. So a quick way to do it is just to cut this rectangle. So I'm gonna draw another rectangle on top of this one, and my window is gonna be 60 centimeters. So I just make this other rectangle, Then I move it down from this dimension, this angle of 30 centimeters. And then I select both of these objects, so the rectangle which is on top, and I right click. And then here you can subtract elements, and you have to help me because I think it's this. Yes. So you select both elements, you right click, and then you go, yeah, Schnitt/Löschen, and it makes a hole. And then you would add, of course, your two lines here. So I just took the line elements, and then you have your window. Let's say now I want to show my window inside. Where is it? 6? No, it's not 6. Okay, so I want to show the opening of the window. So I draw an arc. It's this guy here, and then this guy. And now this is nice. I don't want to do this every time I want to do a window. So I'm going to make a symbol out of this symbol. So I right click on it, and I have to look it up. Yeah, okay, create a symbol. And then it's going to ask me, what do you want to call it? So I'll call it window. You can give it maybe a dimension. If you have 2 or 3 types of window, you say okay. It's going to say, do you want to save it into this document, or you have another document? Say okay, and then you have it. It's created. I'm just going to redo it because I didn't check one option. It's the origin point. Yeah, okay, the origin point. I want to tell him where I want my origin. So I want my origin to be here. And this is important because now if I do the command click to pick up this symbol, it's going to pick it up where the origin is. So if I put it here, well, you click once and then it lets you orient it, and you put it down. Yeah, you see the insertion point of the symbol is going to be here. So I'm just going to move this down to close this. Okay, so this is the base for drawing. Super simple. The advantage is it's super fast. Like if you want to put down some stuff, you can really quickly change the thickness of things, cut through things. You don't have to worry about 3D, etc. Now, when you have something that you like, so either you're working with a full color, which here is not the case. So I'm just gonna put it back to black, like this. Then you don't see the limits between your objects, so you can quickly modify them like this. But then let's say for some reason now you need to unify all these walls, then you would just select them. So drag. If you are outside of any elements, it's not going to select anything. You have to go over them for them to select. So if you press Alt while you drag, it's going to select the elements which are within the selection box. Then you let go and you have them selected. And then you can right click or learn the thing, and it's Fläche zusammenfügen. And this is going to connect them, and it's going to make one element of everything. Sometimes it's quite useful when you have a lot of little elements and you want just to connect everything. You go poof and it's connected.
So it's like a group, isn't it?
It's like a group, but you cannot edit it anymore. So you see, for example, this wall here. Now I cannot move it up and down.
Yeah, okay.
But what you can do is come here and go into the edit mode, and then here you can move points. So you can do this, and you can do something, or you can do this edit mode, which only lets you move perpendicular. And then the last thing, which is quite useful, let's say you want to make a wall with rounded edges in every corner. You go into the convert point. So that's going to change the function of the point. Say I want to tell what's the radius of my corner, and then come here and say 10 centimeters, and then you go on the point and you click, and it's going to convert these points into Bezier curves, and then it's going to make this little radius. That's useful also if you draw roads, if you draw anything which needs a curve. And then of course you can always come back into the edit mode, and you can move this point if you want, and change the curve. If you want a bigger curve, you have all these options here. Yeah. You had a question?
No,
it's good.
This one. It's like Schraffuren zusammenfügen, oder?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably.
It is.
Yeah. Okay, so this is my ground floor. Now I want to work on the floor above this. So you saw when I switch floor, so now I'm in the floor or layer tab. You saw when I switch floor that my floor below became gray and I cannot select it and work on it. This is due to the settings, the view settings. So now all my floors are turned on. If I turn off the floor below, it disappears. And if I go into gray, well, it doesn't change anything. So I'm going to come through this. So here you have your different view settings. So only the active floor only shows the active floor. And this lets you view and change all the floors. This is dangerous because then you don't know if you're working on the ground or the top floor. What I like to use most is this option, which lets you see but not edit. So I see my ground floor, I can work on the second floor, but I cannot edit it. And if you go into this option here, it still makes it gray. Sometimes you want just the ground floor to be light, so you can just view it a little bit. Here is full view and here is hidden. And this is true for all the layers. So if I select all the layers by clicking on Shift when I click on the first and the last one, I can change their functions all together. Or you can press Alt, and that's also going to change the function of all the floors. So sometimes I like to work with this, with all the floors hidden. So now I have my ground floor, and let's say my first floor is very similar. So I'm going to copy and paste it. And I want to paste my first floor at the same position as, yeah, okay, so it's this option. So now it's pasted at the same position. And the first floor has this wall a little bit moved. So let's say now I have united all my points, but I still want to move just these points. So I come into the edit mode and then I drag around these points. And then this lets me just move these points. So I can move them 150 this way, and then poof, it's moved. And then if I switch back to the ground floor, you see the difference between the two, and I can show my ground floor, and now I see that this guy's changed below. Now if I want to draw a section, I would just do it like this, and then I would use the help line tool. And this guy works, it's the temporary line that you can click on one point, and then it makes a temporary line. And you can then draw your facade or section. This would be a section, so then you would do your walls here, and you can move it like this, and then you can move this one here, and then you start to draw your section like this. And then, this is not the right class, it's the wall class, so it should be full. So you just select your elements, and then here you can change them afterward. So you can say wall, okay, and then it's gonna move them to the wall class. And then here is the same for the plan, etc. Okay? So that's this for the section. One more thing, in VectorWorks you can work in scales. So you always work one-to-one, but sometimes you draw a general plan and you're 1 to 1000, and sometimes you draw a 1 to 5 detail. So you can change the scale here. And this is important because if one floor is at scale 1 to 10 and one floor is scale 1 to 100, they will not show. So let me show you. I'm just going to change the first floor to 1 to 50. 1 to 50. No, the section to 1 to 50. And then the other floors, they are 1 to 100. So you see now I have one floor at 1 to 50, and it shows here. And then my ground floor is here, but they don't, because they're a different scale, you won't see them together. It's a little bit strange to understand, but it's quite simple to change. You just go back here, set to 1 to 100, and then all the plans will come back and show.